What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Game Day with Trey. Of course, this is your host, Trey. And today, we're going to talk about this NBA Finals matchup between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. All right, so this game will be played at 8:30 p.m. East Coast time on June the 6th in Boston. All right, the line is currently Dallas plus 6.5, over under set at 215. Now, at one point in time, it did open up at Dallas plus 6, I want to say, and the over under was around 212.5. But right now, it's currently 215, and it's just been climbing all day. That's how I got to that point, because when I first got up earlier today, it was like 214. So obviously, money is coming in on the over. But let's go ahead and let's get into this matchup. All right. So the first thing you need to talk about when you talk about these two teams is who's coming back from injury. And right now you got Kristaps Porzingis scheduled as probable. All right, dealing with that right calf strain. But we all know he gonna play. So I wouldn't even trip about that. And then of course Luke Cornett, he's still dealing with that left wrist sprain, guys. All right, now both these teams boast a pair of stars. Whether you're talking about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, or you talking about Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. All right, both these teams got stars, and they got a pair of them, man. And that's what's going to make this an intriguing matchup, because at the end of the day, Boston really can play defense and offense, whereas Dallas has been they've been out here playing defense, but this is a whole nother different level of offense, guys. And we're gonna talk about that, right? So of course we already know there's the beef between Kyrie and the city of Boston, and then we know there's a beef right now between Porzingis and the city of Dallas. Okay, both players were traded at one point in time or another from these respective teams. Both players have really been through the ringer as far as being to multiple teams, all right, in their NBA career. But only one has a title, and that's Kyrie. Okay. Now, Kyrie said that there's no fear out here as far as basketball is concerned with him going back to Boston, man. The fans are going to say what they're going to say, and I appreciate them for the relationship they have with the game, but it's about the players at the end of the day. And Kyrie's right, you know. Kyrie just has to make sure he stays out his own head in this game. And Luka said he really doesn't understand, or didn't understand, how it didn't work between him and Porzingis, and how it ended up where Porzingis had to get traded in 22. But we were still both young, and we tried to make it work, but it just didn't work. And he's right, it didn't. And it didn't make any sense to me at all on how it didn't work, but it just didn't work, guys. All right, so history aside, both Irving and Porzingis are primarily concerned with helping their current teams lock up a championship for the first time in over a decade. The Mavericks lost the title in 2011, while Boston hasn't won since 08. So Dallas won in 2011, and Boston won in 08 last. Apologies for the last remarks, guys. You know, Celtics got a golden opportunity right now. And like I told y'all on the other podcast, right now they have to really come through. Jason Tatum can't let this opportunity slip through the clutches of his fingers right now. And Jason Tatum said it was a lesson to be learned in that last one. Okay. He said, I told myself that if I ever got the opportunity again to make it to the finals, that I'd never take it for granted. Obviously, we're here now and thankful to be here. Now, remember, he did lose 4-2 to Golden State. And Golden State was a different beast, a different animal at that point in time. Even after Durant was gone, they went there and, I mean, they godsmacked Boston, man, in the series 4-2. Curry was cooking, and Smart was a bum, just like I've always said he is. And you know, but Drew Holiday ain't the same bum. I mean, no disrespect to Drew Holiday, but when I say he's not the same bum, that means he's not smart. He's not a bum. Okay, he can play defense and he can score. All right, he got inside and outside game. He knows how to distribute and work within the offense, as well as put in the uh, prerequisite defense and effort to make that defense happen. So, yeah, it's not the same Boston Celtics team that lost in 2011. All right, so when you talk about how these two teams have matched up throughout the season, okay, so Dallas Mavericks have average 116.2 points per game. That's the ninth best offense in all of the NBA, whereas the Boston Celtics, they only give up 108.1 points per game. That's the third best defense in all of the NBA, guys. And that's from the regular season all the way to the playoffs, right? And then when you look at Boston in the inverse, Boston scores 119.2 points per game, and Dallas gives up 113.6. Now, Dallas has played a lot better defense since, I want to say, March 7th or something like that, where they called a team meeting. All right, and they discussed what was needed in order to win a championship. But at the end of the day, man, you know, for me, it's about consistency and what you've been doing. I understand they made some trades, and those trades were major in order to get them to the position that they're in. But at the same time, do I think that they had that major or that big of an effect on how this team plays defense? Yes. But, yeah, a lot of buts can come in here, man. Because at the end of the day, you could come up with a lot of reasons why Dallas could rock with them as far as trying to get on the boards and this and that and the third. But I honestly don't believe that they match up man for man with them, guys. So on the season, Dallas averages in the first quarter 29.4 points per game. That's the 10th best offense in the NBA, whereas Boston only gives up 27.1 points, which is the 5th best defense in all the NBA. Then you look over in the inverse in the first quarter. Boston scores 31.4 points in the first quarter. All right, that's the number one offense in all the NBA in the first quarter, whereas Dallas, they give up 28.9. That's the 19th defense in all the NBA in the first quarter, which means Boston should be wide open in this position, in this situation, you know, barring Luka just taking off doing what Luka does. All right, but when you look in the second quarter, Dallas only scores at an average of 29.2 points per game. That's number 9 in all the NBA, but Boston's defense is number 9 in the NBA as well. They only give up 27.6. So it's slight edge to Boston in that situation, especially when you look at how Boston scores in the second quarter. Boston's number 1 offense in the second quarter in all the NBA. They score 30.9 points per game. In Dallas, they give up 28.5 points per game. That's the 14th worst defense in all the NBA, guys. Now, when you look in the third quarter, Dallas scores 29 points per game. It's the 10th best offense in the NBA, but Boston, once again, counters that with 26.9 points that they only give up in the third quarter. Fourth best defense in all the NBA in the third quarter. Then when you flip it, Boston is going to turn around. They're going to score a putrid 28.8. That's 13th in the NBA. But Dallas, man, Dallas is only giving up 28.4. They're the 13th. Both of them are the 13th, man. Wicked Friday the 13th on both of them right there in the third quarter. So then when you look in the fourth quarter, Dallas is going to come out. They look like they score 28.4 points per game. That's number 7 in all the NBA. But Boston only gives up 25.6. That's number 2 in all the NBA. All right? And then when Boston's talking about scoring on offense, Boston scores 27.2 points in the fourth quarter. By far their worst quarter in all of the 4 quarters that they play. If you look at the progression, they play great in the first half, and second half is wishy-washy as far as offense is concerned. But Dallas in the fourth quarter, they give up 27.7 points. So that's 16th in the NBA. So, I mean, that means Boston's going to get to their 27 minimum in the fourth quarter, guys. All right, just so you understand, and you got a little tidbit on that. Now, as far as on the season, at home, Boston's 43-6 on the season all year long, including the playoffs, only losing 2 games at home in the playoffs. So they're 14-2, I want to say, or something like that. Or 12-2, somewhere around there. All right. And Whereas Dallas on the road is 32-18 straight up on the season, including playoffs. Now, when they're in this current situation where Boston is a home favorite, like I said, they're 43-6, and away underdog Dallas 11-14, man. I don't know any other way to say that, but they don't do what they're supposed to do as an away underdog. Let's look at this another way. Even though, because remember, Dallas has been playing pretty good, actually, on the road throughout these playoffs. But you want to look at the totality of things, guys, and you want to kind of understand the situation. And that's why I give you this information. So when you're looking against the spread, right, and as a home favorite, Boston on the season is 26-21-2, whereas Dallas as an away underdog is 14-11 on the season. And when you look in the playoffs, all right, Dallas is 11-6 against the spread, whereas Boston is just 7-7, guys. 6.5 points is a lot for them to cover, but we can talk more about that later. When you look at the over/under, all right, as a home favorite, Boston is 28 to the over, 21 to the under, whereas as a away underdog, Dallas is 13 to the over and 12 to the under. And when you look at just the playoffs, Dallas is 9 to the over, 8 to the under, whereas Boston is 8 to the over and 6 to the under. So that means situationally, in the last 10 times that these teams have been playing, Boston is 6-4 straight up, 7-3 against the spread, and 3 to the over, 6 to the under with one push. In the last 10 times these teams have played, Boston beat them 4 times in a row, including 2 times this season and 2 times last season. Boston has scored no less than 119 points per game in that last 4-game win streak. All right, and Boston has covered all 4 of those. All right, now at the end of the day, when you look at over-unders and you're trying to figure that out, I mean, I'm not going to guess nothing in this one, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, this is, you got to kind of watch the game and see how they're reacting to each other. I would probably go over, but we'll look at that in a second. Because when you're talking about Dallas, right now, Dallas is 8-2 straight up in their last 10 games, 7-3 against the spread in their last 10, and 6 to the over, 4 to the under in their last 10, including over game against Minnesota in the last game with a 124-103 victory. All right, now let me go back to something real quick. But hold up, let me tell you about Boston. Boston in their last 10 games, they're 9-1. All right, they're 4-6 against the spread. They don't really cover, but they win the game. All right, and they're 7 to the over, 3 to the under, you guys. And that's after playing the prolific offense that the Pacers have. Not to say that this Dallas offense isn't better when you're talking about these 2 stars. All right, but at the end of the day, all right, you got to understand that the Pacers really, like, even though they were banged up, they gave Boston everything Boston could take. They gave Boston everything Boston. Boston could not take no more punishment from that team. We'll talk about that at a later date, though, guys. All right, so back to the what I'm seeing in this series and what I'm seeing in this game. All right, so in the last 3 games, Dallas is averaging 113.3 points per game while giving up 105 points per game, whereas Boston's averaging 115 points per game and giving up 107.7. They're winning by an average of 7.3 points per game, and Dallas is winning by an average of 8.3 points per game in their last 3 games. Now, when you look home away, at home, Boston scores 121.4 points per game and only gives up 107.4, whereas Dallas, they only score 115.5 and they give up 113.9, guys. A major disparity right there when you look at productivity and who has shown up and who has not. So that's why, at the end of the day, after looking at all the information and deciphering every single thing I got at my disposal, I got to look at how this depth chart is. And when I look at the depth chart, Boston, they're starting Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Porzingis, right? So if they're starting them, and you look over at Dallas, and Dallas is starting Luka, Kyrie, Derek Jones Jr., P.J. Washington, and Gafford. The obvious opportunity is there for Boston. They just got to understand how to put their players in the proper position to make these types of things actually take place on the court. Joe Mazzulla has to really do his thing if they intend on winning a title. If they don't win a title, I'm guaranteeing it right now. I'm telling you, it's going to be because of Joe Mazzulla or Tatum. You know, either one of them folding under the pressure. It is what it is. That's just what I see, guys. You know, so at the end of the day, my picks are Boston Celtics, team total, over 109.5. Boston Celtics, first half, minus -2.5. All right, so no, yeah, 2.5. Okay, so y'all have a blessed day. Stay safe. I'm gonna holler at y'all, man.